everyone. My name is Andrea, and I'm the lead program animal caretaker here at the Oklahoma City Zoo. Thanks for joining us for OKC Zoo at 2. I'm going to be introducing you to a couple of our animal ambassadors today. So animal ambassadors are animals that join us in our educational programs to give our guests that up close and personal interaction that they might not get out in the rest of the zoo.
So who's this ambassador animal?
This is Mortimer, and he is what's called a legless lizard, also called a sheltopusic.
Awesome.
And how many education animal ambassadors do we have at the Oklahoma City Zoo?
We have 34 different species and over 40 individuals, not including our colony of hissing cockroaches, which you'll meet here in a little bit. So again, this is Mortimer. He is a sheltopusic, or a legless lizard. And no, I'm not pulling your leg. He is a legless lizard. He is not a snake. Now, if you get a good look at his head, I'm going to show you a couple characteristics that show he's a lizard and not a snake. So if you see those holes on the side of his head, those are his ear holes. So he's going to hear out of his ears just like we do. Snakes do not have ear holes. So what they do is they have bones in their jaws that feel vibrations, and that's how they hear. So you'll look for those ear holes. The other way is if you watch his face again, you will see him blink. So lizards have eyelids just like we do, so you will catch them blinking. Whereas snakes just have a clear scale over the top of their eyes to protect them, so they never blink.
Yeah, it looks like he's getting that tongue out.
He is. Let me readjust him real
There we
fast.
go.
So yep, he does have that same kind of characteristic that snakes and lizards both do, which that's the tongue flicking. So that is how they smell the world. They're able to pick up scent particles in the air with that tongue, and you will also notice that is usually forked, and that kind of helps him to tell the left and the right direction of that sense of smell. And we're going to give him a bit of enrichment here, so I'm going to stick him down in this tub. He is a carnivorous lizard. He primarily goes after insects, invertebrates, snails, slugs, small mammals, small birds, eggs. Yep, there you go.
Little snack. Looks like he got something.
Yep, so he can kind of, whatever is small enough for him to get in that mouth, he's going to go ahead and eat. So here we give him a lot of crickets, and we do just toss him in live with him, so he is able to get around and hunt them. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, why does this lizard not have legs? Well, they are from areas that have a lot of vegetation, a lot of rocks, and a lot of loose soils. And just kind of over time, it was a lot easier to not have legs getting in the way and getting caught on all that stuff. So by being nice and smooth like a snake, they can go after their prey really quickly and not get snagged on anything. So they are from the southeastern part of Europe all the way through Central Asia, so they span a whole lot of different continents. And they're considered least concerned through most of them. Although, again, when they spread such a wide area, there are some areas they're not doing quite as well as in others.
Now, Andrea, earlier you said enrichment. Mm-hmm. Could you explain that to our viewers, what that is and why it's so important for our animals?
So enrichment are things that we present to our animals to bring out natural behaviors as often as we can, and also to keep them mentally and physically active. So with him right now, by giving him these live crickets, he has to go and he has to hunt them, which is very natural behavior for him. For other animals that are maybe diggers, you can give them big piles of dirt to dig in. For our insect diggers, you can stick insects in there. It could be really anything, new types of substrate, new environmental things. We even have some animals that like to play with toys depending on the individual. And it is really important, particularly now, we don't have our guests in the zoo, so we want to make sure that our animals are still having active, very enriched days.
We had a really great question from one of our viewers. Mm-hmm. Katie asked, are they related to snakes?
So, in the sense that they are reptiles like snakes are, but as you go down the line of the tree, they start to branch out. So you have snakes in one area and you have lizards in the other. And these guys are lizards. And where they're from, they're also known as glass lizards. And this comes fully from a myth in Europe where they're from. So it is believed that, if they get struck, they break into a bunch of pieces. And then later, all those pieces will come back together to form the lizard. And he goes about his day. Now, this myth comes from, a bit of fact, like a lot of myths do. These guys are able to drop their tails if a predator comes after them. Now, it's not an ideal thing because they don't always grow the tail back very well, and they can't drop it a second time. So if you see anything like this out in the wild, because we do have legless lizards here in Oklahoma, just a much smaller species, you just kind of want to watch them from afar. You don't want to make them lose that tail because they need that around for if a predator comes after them, because they'll drop that tail, and hopefully the predator will go after the tail end while the body end gets away.
He's doing a great job finding these crickets.
He's really good at it.
He is.
And is there a way that our guests can meet our education animal ambassadors when the zoo is open again?
Oh yes, just sign up for any of our educational programs. So these guys are pretty much strictly for our educational programs. So do those, you get to meet these guys up close and personal. And again, we have 34 different species, so there's a wide array of animals that you can come and meet.
Okay, who do we have next?
Go ahead and put this on.
Bye, Mortimer.
All right. So here in our education department, a lot of us are really big fans of those things that are typically called creepy crawlies because they're really cool animals and they serve a vital role in our ecosystem. So here we have a colony of Madagascar hissing cockroaches, and they're detritivores, which means that they're going to be eating things that are decaying out in the wild, particularly plant material, although they will go after animals that have already passed. And so they're helping to put those nutrients back into the soil, which is really important. And they do hiss just like their name says. So particularly the males like to hiss a lot, so they'll come together and they'll kind of battle it out and hiss at each other. And they also use that hiss to scare off predators. So if something comes up, tries to eat them, they hiss, they think it might be a snake. And the predator goes, hopefully somewhere else. Now the way that they hiss isn't like us, we're doing with our mouth or vocal cords. What they have are a bunch of holes down their body called spiracles that they breathe through, and they just push a lot of air out of those in one burst, and it causes that big hissing sound.
How many are in here?
I do not know.
There are a lot.
I'd have to count them. Yep, we have a thriving colony, and we let them just kind of breed on their own and kind of keep themselves going. And we have both males and females in here. Let's see here. The way you can tell a male and a female apart is the males have the really big horns on their heads and the females just kind of have bumps. So this guy right down here is a male. You can see those big horns on him. And literally the one right beside him is a female because you can tell it just has barely any bumps right there.
Well, Andrea, we had a question from one of our Instagram fans. What education and training do zoo staff need to handle education animals?
Well, all of our new animal handlers go through at least 7 hours of training before they can handle our animals. And we always start them on the easier things, like our hissing cockroaches, before we start moving them up to our more complicated animals. And particularly those that require a lot of training are only done by our full-time staff who have a lot of animal experience. So we do make sure we train everybody really well.
All right. Who do we have next?
We have our Chaco's golden knee tarantula. Oh yeah, she's moving around. So you can see where she gets her name from by those kind of golden yellow stripes that are on her knee. And she is fully grown. She's about 9 years old now. And that is why I do believe that she's a female. There's not a lot of physical characteristics to tell the difference. But the male tarantulas typically only live about 5 to 6 years. And again, she's 9. So I'm going with a girl on this. And a lot of people are super scared of tarantulas, but just like the cockroaches, they're really important to have because they're going to be eating a lot of different types of insects and invertebrates, particularly things that are often considered pest species. And this particular species, which again is a Chaco's golden knee, is really very nice. She is super calm whenever we do anything inside of her enclosure. She either stays still or she just calmly moves away from us. So they're very docile, not scary at all.
And where are they from?
They are from South America, and they're typically going to be found in your grassland kind of areas. So these guys like to burrow in the dirt. They don't make webs in the same sense of like spiders. Tarantulas will line like their burrows with some webbing or put the webbing around their eggs, but they don't use it to catch insects or their prey like smaller spiders do.
What is your day-to-day like caring for the education animals?
The vast majority is what we call husbandry. So those are going to be things that are just basically taking care of all of their essential needs. So making sure that their habitats are clean, that they have clean water, that they have fresh food, that we're making sure that everything that they need is taken care of. And then in addition to that, we do enrichment, training, projects. It just kind of depends on the day. And like today, media stuff.
All right. Do you have a favorite animal ambassador?
It's hard to pick. I kind of have a couple. So I'd say probably my favorite is called our tawny frogmouth. So it looks a lot like an owl, but she is called a tawny frogmouth. It's a different type of bird, but she is just a real character. She has a lot of personality, is super expressive, and I like her a lot. But I also like this girl right here. We're going to see if she wants to come out. This is PJ. Give me one moment. Hey, sweetheart, I know you were in there for a little bit. Target.
Now, what was that you just did?
That was called a clicker, if you'll hold 1 second, I'll explain in just 1 second once she takes, no, you don't want that? All right, that's fine. What about this? So what I did to get her out was called target training. So we had our target pole, which has, I'm gonna look up, a tennis ball at the end, and she has been trained to, if she touches her nose to it, she gets a reward. The clicker is basically what we use, the same as you would, if you were training your dog, you would say good dog or good or something whenever they sit. It basically says, hey, you did what I wanted you to do, and your reward is on the way. Maybe I need to help her out with this enrichment. It has some food and stuff in there.
She's coming to check it all out.
And what is in these enrichment bags you're giving her?
This is what she was looking for. There you go. She always gets a nut when she comes out because it is one of her favorite foods. And we want to, again, give her that good reward for coming out for us.
How old is PJ?
She is 17, so they can live to be about 27. So she's kind of middle-aged at this point. But yeah, in this bag we have a bunch of other food things. Bounce it on there. Oh, you didn't want that? Now you want the bag? It's a woman's prerogative. Change your mind.
Absolutely.
Whichever you want to do.
This is her choice.
Which do you want? We want both. You can't have both at the same time. I don't think it works that way.
Can you tell our viewers a little bit about prehensile-tailed porcupines?
All right, so prehensile-tailed porcupines are called that because of the prehensile tail they have. Ugh. So if you look back here, it's wrapping around a branch right now. Well, if she will stay.
There it is.
I think she's just more curious about your phones.
Yeah, she is really, okay,
But yeah,
there's
they are
her
named for
tail.
this prehensile tail, so it is super strong and it's really good at gripping onto branches. These guys are an arboreal species from South America, which means that they spend their time in the trees. They'll actually spend about 85% of their life in the trees, and this tail acts as a fifth appendage. And what it's going to do is it's going to hold onto the branches, give them a lot more stability than just their normal feet, and allows them to use their hands for other things while keeping them there. And they can even completely hang from that tail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's really impressive on that tail. Because as you can imagine, if you had a bunch of quills on your hand or something, it would be hard to grab onto things. So she doesn't need them there. And then obviously the most noticeable characteristic of her are these quills. So it is a myth that porcupines can shoot their quills. So no species of porcupine can do this. However, you still don't want to really mess with these guys out in the wild. Because let me tell you, these quills are super sharp. And the way they're designed is they're designed to go easily into your skin, but not come out. Because although you can't see them with the naked eye, they have barbs at the tips that are going to make it very difficult to get it out of your skin if it goes into it. So that is a predatory defense. So if a predator or something she thinks might try to eat her comes up, she's going to puff up and make all those quills stick out. And if she really feels threatened, she'll even head rush whatever is coming after her and just, preemptively get those quills in them. And that is how she's going to keep herself nice and safe.
We had a question about PJ's nose. Why is it so large?
I've not been able to find any definitive answer on why their nose is so large. So my guess is just that it helps with their sense of smell, to help them find their food. So they are herbivores, so they're going to be eating plant material, and she's pretty much eating anything but grass. So she'll go after bark, stem, leaves, flowers, fruit, anything you can find in that tree. So if you look at her feet, you'll notice she has some pretty impressive claws on her. And that is to help her break into whatever she might need. So it'll help her tear bark off of trees so she can eat it, tear into tough fruits, or hold on to a nut that she's eating.
She is really enjoying that almond.
That almond is her
great
jam.
Snacks. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
The last
She definitely was like, why are you not getting my almond? I came out. What is this enrichment thing you're trying to give me?
The last question we received from our Instagram audiences yesterday when we prompted is, what is the calmest education animal ambassador at the zoo? Most comfortable with guest interactions?
I would say we have two different ones that I'd probably give that distinction to. So one is our chicken Lottie. She is trained to come out and sit on a station, and she is totally content to sit there. So long as she's getting the seeds as her reward, she is totally fine to just sit there and do that. And our other one would be our blue-tongued skink, who's also very calm. Like, I've done a 20-minute interview with him, and he just sat there the whole time, calm as can be.
That was awesome. Okay, so an almond and a grape. Does she like any veggies?
Yeah, she's a big fan of corn. She likes sweet potato, both cooked and uncooked. We can go ahead and give her some of that.
These are all great snacks.
Oh, there we go.
So
yeah, she's a big fan. Carrots are one of her favorite things.
Do you touch her, or is it all hands off with PJ?
We try to do hands off. The only time that we would ever catch her up is if we needed to for a vet exam or some sort of an emergency. And in that case, we are going to use welder's gloves to keep ourselves safe, so really thick things. Otherwise, no, we just do her training. So again, she is trained to go into her crate and come out of it. And then, yeah, we just try not to handle her any more than we have to.
And why is her skin yellow? That's another really good question that we got from our viewers.
So there's just an oil that they naturally produce, and it has that kind of coloration to them. And definitely it gets everywhere. It has quite a pungent smell, and it's just an oil that they naturally produce. And she is a good girl. And they are going to have one baby at a time, the females. And when those babies come out, they have very rudimentary quills. So they're very small. They're, not as strong as the adults, but they will quickly develop those quills as the baby ages.
So one of our Instagram viewers is asking again, how old is PJ?
PJ is 17. So, and she can live to be about 27 years old, so she's kind of like middle-aged at this point. And she is a nocturnal species, which means that she's usually awake at night, but she is pretty accustomed to coming out and doing programs during the day, so this is fine for her.
And do you trim her claws by chance?
Nope, she just wears them down naturally on the branches that are inside of her habitat, but we do have vet staff who are around to do any trimming that we might need for any of our animals.
Okay, can you remind our viewers again where we are and how our guests can meet our education animal ambassadors?
So yes, we are at our education center here at the Oklahoma City Zoo, and if you sign up for any of our education programs, you get to meet animals like PJ the prehensile tail, porcupine right here, or on all of our other guests, and 30 some odd other species up close and personal. So just sign up for any of our education programs, and that's a great way to meet these guys.
All right, well, we want to thank everybody for tuning in to OKC Zoo at 2. For now, we're going to say goodbye. Tomorrow, we're going live with our bison, so be sure to check that out.
Bye, PJ.
Bye, PJ.